Hello and welcome to the Arnold and Mabel Beckman Foundation Beckman Young Investigator 2027 program webinar. My name is Nicole Patras. I am the Senior Program Officer for the Beckman Young Investigator program, and this is a re-recording of the 6-2 BYI webinar due to some audio issues. However, I have included all of the Q&A that was in the original recording to this recording. Should you get to the end and your question is still unanswered, my contact information will be on the last slide, and you are welcome to reach out to me. So let's begin. A brief agenda of what we will cover today. We are going to go over the program guidelines and eligibility for the 2027 Beckman Young Investigator program, the process timeline. We will go into how to apply, as well as some application details and some blind review instructions. Lastly, we will just briefly touch on the full application and the interview. And then again, I will cover the Q&A that was recorded yesterday, and any other remaining questions, you are welcome to reach out. Brief introduction about the Beckman Young Investigator program. The program was created in 1991, and since its inception, it has awarded over 400 awardees and provided well over $140 million in grants. The program looks to support promising young faculty members in the early stages of their academic careers, specifically in the chemical and life sciences. And this is to particularly foster the invention of methods, instruments, and materials that will open up new avenues of research and science. The foundation runs its LOI as a blind review, or I should say more specifically, the Young Investigator program runs its LOI as a blind review. The foundation was published in eLife in 2024 with some really promising metrics. We looked at over 2,000 applications over an 8-year period, 4 of which of those years being pre-blinding. Pre-blinding, 75% of our awards were going to applicants from the top 25 institutions. And post-blinding, that number was reduced to 45%. We are really proud of this information. We are going to be doing blind review for the letter of intent for the foreseeable future. In addition to it being having some great metrics and showing some really promising data, we feel that this also helps to keep the review process as unbiased as possible and really allows your research to shine through, as the pre-proposal is the only documentation that a reviewer will be reviewing at the LOI. So program guidelines for the Young Investigator program: projects should be innovative, high risk, and show promise for contributing to significant advances in the chemical and life sciences. These projects should be risky, high risk, high reward. The program supports early scientists who have not yet received major funding from another organization. Projects should represent a departure from current research rather than an extension or expansion. This doesn't mean that projects have to be completely new, but they should not be the next logical step. As the letter of intent is blinded, this specific program guideline becomes more clear at the full application stage. And then lastly, projects are funded for up to 4 years. We provide $150,000 in annual support, and the foundation does not allow for or provide overhead or indirect costs. Program eligibility for the 2027 program include: within the first 4 years of your early tenure track, you must have started your current role after 1/1/22 or before 7/31/26. You have to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident by the time of the interview, which has a cutoff of March 16th, 2027. So to further clarify, if you were in the process of obtaining permanent residency at the letter of intent stage or even the full application stage, you are eligible to apply. However, you must have obtained permanent residency and provide your documentation by March 16th, 2027 in order to remain eligible. Applicants can have no more than $225,000 in external annualized direct funding. This does not include startup funds. This does not include transition grants, and this does not include internal funding. Clinical research, clinical trials, and single target drug discoveries are not eligible. Government laboratories are not eligible. Applicants can apply a maximum of 2 program cycles. This includes submitting just a letter of intent. And applicants must have no more than 10 years post-terminal degree, so post-PhD. For those applicants that are MD, PhD, this is post-residency. And no more than 5 years experience in a non-tenure track position, not including your time as a postdoc. Process timeline, the letter of intent opened June 1st and it will close July 31st, 2026. Full application notifications will be sent in mid-November and these will be due in mid-January 2027. Interview notifications will go out in early April and interviews will be conducted virtually April 19th through the 21st, 2027. Moving into the specifics of the letter of intent itself, this includes a 4-page pre-proposal. This is inclusive of images, references, and citations. There is a template biosketch that you must use, a current funding chart, and 2 institutional signatures from the chief academic officer and dean or similarly authorized signer. These 3 items, the biosketch, the current funding chart, and the signatures, are only viewed internally to determine eligibility. Reviewers will only receive your 4-page pre-proposal. Digging a little deeper into the institutional endorsement, these are electronic signatures required to complete your letter of intent. These are not letters of recommendation, and they do not require any documentation to be uploaded. We need 2 signatures, one from the chief academic officer. This includes the president, chancellor, provost, or similar, and a dean. For both, you are able to get someone who is similarly authorized to sign on behalf of. That is totally fine with the foundation as long as they have signing authority at your institution. Endorsers are confirming that they've reviewed your materials, they agree to our terms, and the institution would continue ongoing support levels of the applicant. This is an example of the endorsement itself, specifically endorsement 1, Chief Academic Officer. Once you hit request a recommendation, you will fill in the first, last, and email. There's an optional message and you'll hit send request. If needed, you are able to resend or withdraw the request by selecting these 3 dots here. Once you hit mark as complete, the endorser will receive your email. They'll have the option to give a recommendation or decline. If for some reason they decline, you will be notified by the system. If they decide to give the recommendation, they will sign electronically and hit submit. Once they sign, you as the applicant will receive an email confirming that the signature has been received. The endorser will also receive a confirmation email that the recommendation has been received in the system. To finalize, the applicant must click Mark as complete to submit the task. Both endorsements are required by the application deadline and required to actually submit your application. The letter of intent is conducted as a blind review. Please do not include your name, gender, or any institutional information in your pre-proposal. Do not name collaborators, mentors, advisors, lab members, etc. You're encouraged but not required to write in third person. If you include references to your own publications, do not use any special formatting markings to identify yourself within a list of authors. And we recommend that you use a format like this for any unpublished work. These 2 examples are examples of blinding mistakes that we see frequently. This will often lead to disqualification of your letter of intent. Both of these examples can be found in documentation within our website. We have several documents to help you write your pre-proposal, as well as an FAQ document. So I encourage you to check that out within our website. This first example is to be mindful to discreetly cite your own work. So using this example, we have someone who will begin screening hundreds of laboratory proteins for catalyzing various transfer reactions, and all of the references that they've included are done in their own lab. So we suggest that you replace phrases like my group or named labs with neutral wording, such as previous studies or established literature. You can cite your own work in the third person. You can refer to it as you would any external source rather than implying ownership. Another example that we see quite often is that sometimes it is easy to identify the PI from the publication. In order to mitigate this, we suggest that you refer to other work in addition to your own. Avoid using possessive language. Swapping our data for the data or preliminary results is a small change that goes a long way. And when describing your findings, try to position them within the bigger conversation happening in your field rather than spotlighting what you specifically did. Some additional tips when writing your pre-proposal. Number one, to keep it concise. You do only have 4 pages inclusive of references and images. So we suggest that you lead with clear aim that grabs attention right away. Number two, speak to your audience. These reviewers will span many disciplines, so keep it accessible. Don't use jargon. Spell out any acronyms as needed. Number three, keep it anonymous. This is a blind review. Your proposal will stand alone, so watch for any language, identifying language, and follow the citation guidelines. Number four, consider contingency plans. It's helpful to show reviewers that you've anticipated problems by building in flexible or alternative strategies. Number five, visuals. Visuals are essential to a great grant proposal. Aim for at least 1 graphic or scheme per page. Number six, check in with your SR office for early submission deadlines and tools. They might be particularly helpful to determine who the endorsement signature should be. And then lastly, submit on time. The 2027 LOI is due July 31st at 5 p.m. Pacific, and no exceptions will be made for late submissions. As previously mentioned, we do have some additional resources that can be found within our webpage. We have 2 examples of successful pre-proposals, a guidance document when writing your pre-proposal, an FAQ document, and in addition to that, we will host 3 mentor office hours, 2 of which will be July 1st and the 3rd, July 7th. You can register for these within the application. For your current funding, we have a chart in which your materials will be directly entered in. We are concerned with your direct amount. So using this example, if you have a grant that totals $200,000, but the direct amount, meaning the amount going just to your lab, is $100,000, we want to know what the annual breakdown is of that $100,000. This does need to follow our program year. So this is going to be August 26 through July 27, August 27 through July 28. You must remain at or under 225K for both years. When you are ready to submit the letter of intent, you should see on the far left these green circles with check marks indicating that everything is complete. If you are missing an endorsement, you will not have one of these and you will not be able to submit. Assuming everything looks good, we suggest that you hit review, open up all of the items that you might have had to upload, make sure everything looks good, and when you're ready, go ahead and hit the green submit button. Again, please plan to submit ahead of the deadline. Moving on to the LOI review process, we will have reviewers from that span across the United States, associate professor or higher. These are also former awardees of ours from various academic institutions. Applications will be reviewed online. There are 3 reviewers per panel, followed by a selection meeting, and reviewers will select up to roughly 100 applicants to move to the full application stage. The full application itself, there are several materials that the applicant will prepare and several that they will solicit. So applicants will prepare a 6-page proposal. There are some short answer Q&A for PI information. There's a project timeline, a budget for years 1 and 2, an updated bio sketch, and a updated current funding chart. Applicants will also solicit for institutional support form signatures, award term acknowledgement signatures, and 2 letters of recommendation. Letter 1 coming from a no association letter writer, and letter 2 coming from an affiliated letter writer. As a reminder, if you are still in the process of obtaining permanent residency, when you submit your full application, this is okay. You just have to be a permanent resident with documentation by March 16th, 2027. The review process is somewhat similar in the sense that your application will be reviewed by 3 reviewers, followed by a final selection meeting. Reviewers will select up to 20 applications to advance to the interview stage. The interview will take place in mid to late April. Applicants will be tasked with creating a 5-minute presentation, and then they will participate in a 35-minute Q&A. These are conducted over several days via Zoom, and the committee will select roughly 10 to 12 applicants for award consideration. If awarded, next steps would include attending our annual symposium. Symposium is typically the last few days of April, the first few days of August, depends on the year. You would be invited to attend every year of your award. Funding is dispersed midsummer, leading up to year 1. And if needed at the end of year 4, you could apply for a 1-year no-cost extension to fully expend your funds. We do also collect reporting annually. I'll leave this slide up for the duration of the rest of the Q&A. As a reminder, if I don't cover your question, you have another question that is not answered, please feel free to email or call me here. Happy to answer any additional questions. So moving on, the questions that I will be reading now were questions that were asked during the original recording on June 3rd. So I'll begin with those. The first question is, can you speak to the number of applications you are receiving from R2 institutions post-blinding? This question has several parts, so I'll begin with that. We do receive applications from all types of Carnegie classifications, including R2. We certainly receive less applications from R2 institutions. They are not any less competitive. It just kind of comes down to numbers. The question continues that I noticed in recent years only 1 award was made to API at an R2, and they're wondering if we aren't receiving as many applications from these institutions. Yes, we are not receiving as many applications from these institutions. The next question is, do all internal awards count toward the $225,000, such as your faculty business plan? Internal awards, including your startup funds and any award that is only open to researchers at your institution, we would consider those internal, and those do not count towards your $225K. We are only interested in external grants. The next question is, if we have split appointments between colleges, do we need 2 college dean signatures and not just 1? No, you only need 1 signature from a dean and 1 signature from a chief academic officer or similarly authorized signer. The next question, should we not include preliminary data in our LOI, just schematics and graphics to explain our proposal? You are welcome to include preliminary data in your LOI. It is not required. If you have proof of concept, it is really great to see. It can strengthen your application. It is not required. If you do include it, just please be very mindful of the way in which you write it and make sure that your proposal stays blinded. If you've received a career transition award, such as a K award, after you started your position, but the application was submitted during postdoc, does it count towards total monetary? No, this would be considered a transition award. Transition awards do not count towards the total monetary. And the second part to that question is, does current funding include startup? Current funding does not include startup. There is a section in the grants page in which you will include your startup package. However, that is not broken down into these annualized boxes. We are only looking for direct external annualized funding. What if you are a co-PI on a grant, but the majority is going to another PI? Do you just count the portion dedicated to you? Correct. You would only break down the direct amount that is going to your lab annually. The next question is no association someone you do not know or just someone you have never collaborated with or been mentored by? You can certainly know them. You could have met them, but yes, it's someone that you have not been mentored by or collaborated with. It also cannot be someone that is at your institution or any institution that you have been at. There is a lot more information on this should you be invited to the full application stage. The next question is, this is my second time applying. Is it acceptable to submit an improved proposal of similar scope, or is an entirely distinct proposal recommended? We don't have any specific recommendations. However, you are more than welcome to submit with an improved proposal, or you can upload a completely distinct proposal. Both are fine with us. I have seen just from experience an improved proposal making it all the way to the award. So I would use your judgment, and if it's something that you feel strongly about, making edits and submitting again would be just fine. Are there any specific priority funding areas that the organization is most interested in? The Young Investigator program does not have any specific priority areas. Are there specifications on how the money can be spent, equipment, salary, etc.? We don't have specific specifications regarding how you have to break it down. Equipment, salary, conferences, all these types of things are acceptable. We do also allow up to $10,000 annually to go toward child or elder care as long as you or someone in your lab is working on this program at least 50% of the time. In the profile section of the details, there are 2 independent evaluators requested. Are these people who are connected at the full proposal stage? So this question is in reference to the PI profile section of the letter of intent. There is an area in which we ask for 2 independent evaluators. These are just experts in your field. We use this as a collection method to potentially reach out to in the future for a reviewer pool. This is not someone we're going to be reaching out to this year. You are welcome to include the same names in this portion of the application as you would if you wanted them to be your letter writers. Again, we will not be reaching out to them this year. We will have no communication with them. They will not be aware that you have named them as independent evaluators. Next question is there a minimum effort dedicated for the grant throughout the length of the award? No, the foundation does not have a minimum effort expectation. Let's see, how is the risk associated with the proposed work evaluated? Do we need to explicitly state this within the proposal? You do not need to explicitly state risk within the proposal. However, I do think that it is helpful for a reviewer to understand clearly why this is risky, why this is necessary, and why this should be funded. We don't have a specific definition of risk, and there really aren't any specific guidelines around what makes something risky when it comes to the BYI program. And then the last question is, will we receive feedback or reviewer comments on our letter of intent or full proposal? The foundation does not provide feedback during the letter of intent or full proposal stage. However, if you do make it to the interview stage and you are not selected to receive the award, you will receive feedback at that time. So that was it for the Q&A from the original June 3rd webinar. Again, if you have additional questions, you're welcome to reach out to me. Thank you for your interest in the program. I wish you the best of luck as you complete your application. Bye.